Today we're going to introduce the law of sine. So this is something that you probably worked on or learned about last year in geometry. So most of it should be review. Tomorrow we'll get into the ambiguous case with law of sines, which might be new to you. So one thing to remember with law of sines is we're working with non-right triangles. So before, when we were solving triangles, we were solving right triangles. And we would use sine, cosine, and tangent to solve for sides and angles. We're going to use the law of sines, and that's when it's non-right triangles. And the law of sines basically says the length of sides are proportional to the sines of their corresponding angles. So we're just working with ratios and setting up proportions to be able to solve for either angles or sides. We want to remember back to some notation in geometry that you learned about. So one thing to remember are angles are labeled with capital letters. And sides are labeled with lowercase. So if I look at this triangle, I can have a ratio of an angle A that corresponds to the side A, which is opposite. So angle A is capital A, side A is lower a. We have another ratio of angle B, which corresponds with side B. That would be another ratio. And then if we look at angle C, it corresponds to side C, and that is another ratio. So those three ratios are equal to each other, and we use those ratios to set up proportions to solve. So we have a few different cases. Case one is when we either have an angle-side angle or an angle-angle-side triangle. So if you look at this example in example one, we have a side and two angles, or an angle-angle side. And we're going to use that to help us solve for x. So we're trying to find the side x. So in an angle-angle side, we're already given one ratio. The ratio that we're given is this angle, 82 degrees, to this side, 16. It doesn't matter how we label, which one we label A, B, and C. I can go through and say this is angle A, this is angle B, this is angle C. That makes this side A, this side B, and this side C. You could have called that angle C and 16 side C. I don't care if you go through and label those or not, as long as you're setting up your ratios properly to set up your proportion. So here I can go ahead and I can say, all right, I have a ratio. That's going to help me solve for x, because I have another ratio that I can set up here. So if I go ahead and set that up, I'm going to say, I know that sine of 82 degrees over 16 should be equal to sine of 56 degrees over x. So we have two ratios that are equal to each other. So we have a proportion, and to solve proportions, we cross multiply. So I'm just going to cross multiply these and then use my calculator to get my answer. So when I cross multiply these, I'm going to get x times sine of 82 degrees is equal to 16 times sine of 56 degrees. Get x by itself, I need to divide by sine 82 degrees. And I'm going to end up getting x is equal to 16 sine 56 all over sine 82 degrees. This I'm going to put in my calculator. I want to make sure I'm in mode of degrees because my angles are given in degrees, so you might want to check your calculator and make sure you're in the degree mode. I want to go ahead and try to put that in as one string on my calculator so that I don't have to estimate, so I can have the most accurate answer. So we just want to try to put it in as one string. So I end up getting 13.39. So that means this side is 13.39. So pretty straightforward. Let's go on to example 2. In example 2, I'm given one ratio. So now I want to look at what kind of triangle is this. If I look at this, I'm given an angle, a side, and an angle once again. So I'm angle, angle, side once again. I'm given a ratio to begin with. I'm given this 56 degrees corresponds to the side that's 7. And so you'll notice that my 75 degrees doesn't have a side that's given. And I'm actually looking for x. So I'm looking for x here. So I need to figure out what this angle is so I can set up another ratio. So I need to have that third angle there. I can go back to geometry. Remember, all the angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to use that to help me find that angle. I can go ahead and label these A, B, and C. And the very first thing I want to do is find angle C. So I'm going to do that first. Angle C is going to be equal to 180 degrees minus the quantity 75 plus 56. That gives me 49 degrees. So I know that this angle here is 49 degrees. I now have enough information that I can set up my ratios and solve my proportion. So my next thing I need to do is to solve for x. So I'm going to set up my first ratio. I'm going to say sine of 56 degrees over 7 is equal to sine of 49 degrees over x. I can go ahead and I can cross multiply, and I will get x times the sine of 56 is equal to 7 sine 49. X is equal to 7 sine 49 degrees. These are all degrees. Divided by sine of 56 degrees. Plug that into my calculator, and I get 6.372. So that means this side is 6.372. I think we were supposed to round to the hundredths, so we can say this is 6.37. That's my answer. This goes into your calculator. So on both of these examples, we're solving for a side. The next video will be the last two examples from the notes. One where we're solving for an angle and one where we're solving the whole triangle.